Here we go. Time to start off with e4. So we're playing effect 85. So pretty evenly rated. Plays a Sicilian. Okay, I'm going for the open Sicilian, as I usually do. And he's going for an e6 line. So this is a Taimanov Sicilian at this point. And yeah, you can't play bishop to d3 like you can in the Con Sicilian because the knight is already out here looking at this knight. Can defend the knight, however. Maybe knight c3 is more relevant there because probably one idea here is to play a quick d5. And he could play it right now, but he doesn't. Okay. So I'm going to go for kingside castling in this position. Looks like he's setting up for an attack on the queen side, so why castle into that? And if he wants to damage my pawns here, he can do it. So yeah, he declines. Yeah, I guess the idea now is he's threatening to take the knight and then take the e-pawn. I could pin. No, I can't pin his knight. The queen is already out of the way. I guess that's one of the points of playing this way. I could play bishop to f3, defend that way. Or bishop to d3. Or I could play pawn to c3. Yeah, if I go bishop d3, he's got knight to g4, which would be a bit annoying. So I'm just going to go pawn to f3. Hold on to that center. See if he... ask again if he wants to give up the bishop pair in exchange for damaging my queenside pawns. In fact, I think I will even kick the bishop with a3 if he doesn't take right away. keep asking the same question until I get a definitive answer, because the knight doesn't have any good squares to run to. Has no good squares to move to at this moment. Defending with the bishop would drop this knight. I could take here and then defend. Take his knight on c6 and then defend, but I don't know. Don't think I should be playing that passively so soon in the game. Wait till I get in trouble. Well, he's thinking about this position. I guess there is an idea of knight to, yeah, he's just going to leave it there. So instead of a3, there is an idea of knight to a4 to c5. But the knight is not well supported there. It's not supported at all. The bishop could look at it indirectly. Yep, let's go ahead and kick that bishop. If I get the pawn to b4, then knight to c5 makes some more sense, I think. Yeah, so now he is hitting this knight twice. And I have to be a little careful because he can bring more pressure to bear on the knight. But what can I do? Well, I still have this idea of knight here, right? Let's go ahead and do that. So we can exchange out on d4. Knight takes, bishop takes, queen takes, but I'll still have the idea of playing knight to c5. Maybe he gets a pawn, though. Yeah, knight takes, bishop takes, queen takes. He has queen takes c2. That's pretty annoying. Hitting the knight and hitting the bishop. I can defend with knight back to with this knight on a4 back to c3. And his queen maybe will be a little bit uncomfortable there in my camp, but he did win a pawn. He'll have this backwards pawn here, so don't think that's a lost position, but maybe not ideal. Probably mistakes were made. So he doesn't do that, but goes there. So now if I take his knight, he still takes my bishop with check. Yeah, let's let's push that c-pawn forward. That should be another way to handle it. If he tries to drive my knight away with a move like a pawn to e4, or e5, I always had the move knight to f5 defending the bishop, so I wasn't worried about that so much. Okay, so now he decides to trade, and in this position he does not win a pawn. And I get to activate my knight on c5, it looks like. Plus I have a clamp on the d5 square, which is nice. So he can't play pawn to d5 so easily. I think he can still play it, can't he? d5, I take, he takes, I take, and knight takes. So I would really need another piece on there to fully stop it. Although after the trade, queen would be on that square. Okay, so he pushes forward like that. So if I take and then play my knight here, he'll probably kick it with pawn to d4, huh? Pawn to d6, rather. Still, taking seems like the thing to do. And instead of knight to c5, I could do knight c3 to d5. And I could put the rook on the c file here, lift my queen up, bring the other rook to the d file. Should be okay. The check is open on this diagonal, so I have to be wary of a knight coming in here somewhere. To support the queen on that diagonal, to coordinate with the queen on that diagonal might be dangerous. But as at the moment, queen b6 check is seems like it's just a check to me. Doesn't seem dangerous. Yeah, so knight here, or should I lift the queen up first? Let's lift the queen up and then play knight here. Get my rooks connected before the c file opens up here. Although I'm assuming he's going to take when I play knight to d5. I could take either way. I could take with the e-pawn. Yeah, he's going to force me to play that. It's going to pile up on that. But now I have it adequately defended. I've blocked out his bishop. I'm hitting his queen, so I thought he would just take here. Question is, how do I take back? So I can take back, as I said, with the yeah, let's try it. I'll have a little majority here on the queen side. a small majority. Maybe I can do something with it. I'm thinking queen e3 here, looking at his rook. Might be a nice move. He might play b5. Okay, so he wants to hop into these squares. Makes sense. Probably knight to knight to f4 is his idea, I guess. Yep, so he can take the bishop. I push. If the pawn takes, I can take on e. No, I can't take the e pawn. The queen's still defending it. So if pawn takes, I'll take with the rook. Oh, but you know what? He didn't defend his rook. How funny is that? Queen there. Yeah, right. He played the knight move. Oh, he calculated that. I see. He gets the material back. Yeah, okay. Got the bishop, plus he got the exchange, so that's worth a rook. So it looks like we're headed into kind of a drawish endgame here. Let's see how it goes. Both of us have potential back rank problems. His king has no escape, and my king either, since I moved to h1. So he's stepping aside. Yeah, he's going to try and coordinate with his queen and rook against my pawns here. Queen to a5 is probably an idea. Getting this pawn. So if I just put my queen back on e3, I think that's the thing to do here. And get to d3 and push the c pawn forward. Get my queen behind this pawn. Or maybe immediately. So if I go pawn to c5 and he takes, I could take on e5. Okay, yeah, so he went there anyway. So let's give my king a lift. Make room, Luft for the king. Okay, so now if I play c5 and he takes, I'll take back with the rook. He takes, I take with the queen. He takes this pawn, or he gives a check. I go here, and then I can give a check. Can I calculate it any better than that? c5, pawn takes. Is there other options besides taking? You know what I could do? I could do c5. Pawn takes and take back with the pawn, and then I'll have this dangerous pawn duo, with one of them being an actual passed pawn. Yeah, I think it's a very difficult position here for both of us. A tough endgame with queen and rook. It's almost hard to say whether this is a late middle game or endgame. There's 14 points. So I think by the rule of 13 or something like that, it's not safe for the kings to come out yet. So there's probably still a middle game. So if he finds another move besides taking, I will take. Yeah. So this was my idea, was to take with the pawn here and get this pawn duo rolling. So he dropped back with his queen to defend. So if I go queen e4, then he will play f5. Let's see, if I play c6 immediately and he plays queen takes pawn, I could play pawn takes pawn. You could trade rooks with check and then take the pawn. So it's not working. So I need to defend this. This looks good. Set up a discovered check. But my rook is no longer defended, so it requires some care. If I could have hopped to this square, that might have been nice. But then my queen would be pinned, or the pawn would be pinned against my queen. So a little bit of, okay, so I'm going to get the check. King will move. And if I push this pawn forward, he can just take it. If I push this pawn forward, pawn takes, queen takes check, I trade queens, just get a rook there, and then I take the pawn. And I've got a very dangerous passed pawn on the second rank there if he trades. So he goes that way. I go there with check. He has to block with the queen. Queen f2 is the only move. Queen f7, rather. Yeah. So now what? If I just trade and then push the pawn, his rook will be in front of the pawn and his king just walks over and takes it. So that's not good enough. But if I bring my queen in like this, now I push the pawn, he puts the rook in front of the pawn. I push the pawn, he puts the rook in front of the pawn, I put my rook here. He can't yet take the pawn. If he lifts the queen up, I'll come in with a check. Well, he needs the queen to defend the rook anyway. Could lift the queen up to here. Could come in with a check. Yeah, I'm just going to see if he can figure something out. Maybe rook takes rook, queen takes rook, rook here, check. Yeah, that's winning, right? Queen takes rook, queen takes queen. The power of the passed pawn. Yeah, especially when it's on the 7th rank like that. It's a monster. Okay, yeah, that was a nice game. I'm going to upload this and do a postmortem. See you guys later. Bye.